This is the Rays POSTCAST, your instant game reaction for the Tampa Bay Rays, part of the Locked On Podcast Network. Your team every day.
Hello and welcome to the Tampa Bay Rays POSTCAST, your spot for instant Rays reaction after every single game. My name is Jonathan Shields. Make sure you guys go follow me on Twitter at Johnny10Shields. Weird game. I thought, there's a time where the Rays had 4 runs on only 1 hit, and it was kind of those kind of games. I feel like there's been a lot of games this year where the Rays have only scored in 1 inning and have kind of hung on for the win. And I thought the bullpen again. No one really wants to talk about it. People want to talk about the bullpen when they're bad. They've been really good since that bad stretch. Really good coming out of the break. So we're going to talk about how kind of weird this game was. How Rasmussen was perfect for the first 3 innings and then had a rough 4th inning, but good to see him, the way he battled back through it. We're going to talk about how Uceta and really most of the bullpen looked really good, and then we're going to look ahead to see what the Rays need to do to win the series. But first, we got to talk about how the Rays did take advantage of those mistakes.
This is what you'll be talking about.
It's in the 2nd inning. That's where all the Rays runs happen to come in. And that's because, again, just like yesterday, a boatload of walks from White Sox pitching. There were 3 walks. All of a sudden, the Rays ended up with bases loaded. Then we get a balk, which the Rays offense kind of went yesterday. They kind of needed runs any way that they could get them. And then, obviously, Cabby. I thought Cabby was great tonight. And that's why, before we talk to him, we're going to get to our player of the game.
This is the Locked On Player of the Game.
It is Cabby, and I thought he was stellar defensively. He saved a hit in that 8th inning, which I thought was a huge moment of the game. But the way he had 3 at-bats, and he hit the ball hard 3 times. Well, hit the ball hard 2 times, but the biggest hit of the game happened because he had fantastic plate coverage. He fouled off 2 really tough fastballs, fouled off a cutter away, and was able to get that off-speed pitch almost in the left-hander's batter's box and just flip it up into center. And then his speed, the pressure he puts on him, kind of takes advantage of the error from the center fielder. All of a sudden, he's on third. Taylor Waltz hits a high chopper, and then boom, the Rays score. So that's why we're going to make that our turning point.
Time to reveal where the game was won or lost. It's the turning point.
And, anytime we get to a game that's 4-3 and the Rays score 4 runs all in 1 inning, that's probably going to be our turning point. But again, Cabby's going to have to play a lot with Brandon Lau going on the 15-day IL. With Hyson probably not playing again tomorrow. So I would expect basically copy and paste same lineup, Jansen instead of Theis, going into tomorrow. So again, he's going to really need to step up, him or Walls. And today it was Cabby. And it was much needed because for some reason the Rays really struggled with the White Sox. I mean, we got a Tyler Alexander appearance and he struck out 4 people in a row. He did take a perfect or no-hitter, I think, in Toronto into the 7th inning, if I'm not mistaken. Last year, or it might have been 2 years ago. But against the White Sox have a lower quality of talent. That's why they're 30 games under 500. And these are teams that the Rays should be bashing. And honestly, the Rays offense was pretty uninspired until the bottom of the 8th inning. They kind of went from the 3rd inning to the 7th inning where nothing really happened. Cabby got a hit, got caught stealing 2nd. And then, in the 9th, in the bottom of the 8th, I really thought the Rays were going to come up. I really thought Josh Lowe was going to get a hit there after Junior struck out. I was like, man, this is where he breaks out the slump. It's going to be right here. And, he had a weak ground out to the pitcher, so I was pretty wrong. So, it's a weird game, a game where the Rays probably, should have won by more. But it's also a game where you look back and it's just you'll take wins any way you can get them at this point. So it doesn't matter if the Rays win 1-0. Doesn't matter if the Rays win 4-3 with all 4 of the runs coming off 1 hit in that 2nd inning, which is weird. Very, very rarely do you see a stat line like that, right? Where we have 4 runs on 1 hit. I got kind of a kick out of that. But let's talk about kind of more reasons why it was a weird game. Because Drew Rasmussen was so locked in for the first 3 innings. I'm like, here we go. This is vintage Drew Rasmussen. And then boom, all of the first 3 hitters of the 4th inning got hits. And then, once you get that, 1 run in, 1st and 2nd, nobody out, you're kind of hoping to just maybe allow 1 more. And that's what he was able to do. In fact, he got the bases loaded, nobody out. And then, sacrifice fly, fielder's choice, and then grounded out. So, he threw a lot of pitches that inning. And I was happy that Cash let him go. We saw Uceta start to get warm, but they let him go in that spot, which I really, really appreciate it. If you guys are in the live, make sure you leave a like and leave a comment. What do you guys think about the offense today? Should we still be concerned with the offense about how they've been not really productive against a Chicago White Sox team that's literally just been handing the base runners? Like, here you go. Who wants to walk? You get a walk. You get a walk. You get a walk. That's kind of where this Rays offense is at right now. But again, the Red Sox lost again today. Rays are half game out of a playoff spot. So, it was all doom and gloom yesterday. Today looks a little bit brighter. So again, that's why, it's tough to hang on to every single game like we do in baseball. It's good to have the postcast like we do to vent about games like yesterday that the Rays should have won and maybe not should have won. The Rays got outplayed in a game where they should be the better team. But, now when you're looking back today, it's like, man, the Rays lost that game to the White Sox, bounced back again today, and are only a half game back from the Red Sox. So again, those are all stuff that kind of all best case scenario for the Rays today. It would be kind of triple best case scenario if the Mariners were to lose again today. But if you're the Rays, you're looking at this, it's like we won. We didn't play nearly our best. But I was really interested to see how Cash deployed the bullpen. I mean, this is kind of what you're going to see. I think this is the quote-unquote A bullpen. You're going to see Uceta, Baker, Clevenger, Fairbanks. Those are the 4 guys you're going to roll with. You might roll with Joe Boyle in some form there in a multi-inning role, kind of like Uceta has been recently. But, this was a look at that. This was, okay, we're going to hand over our bullpen. Baker gave up the home run. He was pretty sharp besides that. Clevenger gave up a hit, but outside pretty sharp again. I thought Pete was good. Nice to see him only have to face 3 batters. Sometimes with Pete, you get kind of that full experience. But, this was the A bullpen that we're going to see a majority of the time with the Rays going forward. Again, sprinkle in Joe Boyle here and there. Seymour might get sprinkled in. But, this is kind of the group that the Rays are going to roll with in that bullpen. So, going to be interesting to see how it goes going forward. But so far, it's 1 for 1 with this from the second half of the break. Again, with this Rays team right now, you're kind of going to take wins any way you can get them, because you want to put the front office in a position. The front office has been very open talking about this. The Rays need to put us in a position where we feel comfortable going out and buying. And again, I don't know you're going to see many like rentals like we did with Nelson Cruz a few years ago, or God, I'm blanking on the outfielder's name. That was with the Padres for a long time that came over during that stretch. But, I think you're going to see guys like Baker that have control. But again, the way that the Rays perform over these next 10 games is going to really show the front office, okay, what are we going to do here? And this was a really big really big jump because, again, only half game out of a playoff spot now, just like that. So we still got to talk about more about the bullpen, specifically Edwin Uceta. We're going to look ahead to see how the Rays can get a sweep tomorrow. And then we're going to get to your guys' comments. So if you guys have a comment about anything that I said, or you just want to drop some tidbits in there, make sure to drop them in there. We'll be getting to them right after this. This episode is brought to you by FanDuel. Summer sports are in full swing. Whether you're all about baseball under the lights, golf on the green, or high-stakes soccer action, FanDuel is the best way to make every game even more exciting. You're already following the action. Why not make it a little bit more thrilling? With FanDuel, you can get in on the game while your friends are getting sunburned at the beach. And you guys know, my favorite part about FanDuel is new daily promotions. They could have a home run prop bet. They could have a nerfy prop bet and just get, a profit boost with whatever you want to bet that day. So even though, there's not a lot of other sports going on, there's still plenty to bet on with FanDuel. And if you're new to FanDuel, new customers can bet just $5 and get $150 in bonus bets if your first bet wins. Open the FanDuel app today or visit FanDuel.com to get started. And I would be remiss to not talk about this offense without mentioning Chandler Simpson. Again, just continues to battle up there. They put up that split after he got a hit against Alexander. He's hitting 301 against righties and 300 against lefties. That's right about as consistent as you can be. So he just continues to be such a game changer. Stole 3 bases today. I mean, it's just like a spiritual experience watching him on the base path. So definitely wanted to shout out Chandler Simpson before we got away from talking about the offense. But let's talk about this bullpen, specifically Edwin Uceta, man. I mean, they're really, he picked up the win 7-2 sneakily, Uceta is. And, they're really kind of building him into this 2-inning role. And both times he's gone out there, he went 1 and 2/3 against Boston, 2 innings today. So in the last 3 2/3, he's given up only 2 hits, no runs, 7 strikeouts in 3 2/3. That is elite level stuff. That's Edwin Uceta from last year. So that's the stuff. And then, I bet you a bunch of comments today are going to be saying, oh, Uceta is a high leverage guy. And 10 days ago, it's Uceta shouldn't be the bullpen. DFA Uceta. So, it's a long season. Uceta has the stuff. And I think he literally just needed a break like the All-Star break awarded him because he was pitching a ton of innings. All of a sudden, he gets that break, and look how sharp he is now. So, no surprise that Uceta continues to be really good. I'm going to be interested to see how they sprinkle in Joe Boyle going forward because I know him and Seymour kind of these two-inning, multi-inning reliever guys, but kind of what luxury is it for the Rays to have where, you use your A bullpen day, use Fairbanks, use Clevenger, use Baker. Now, Baker is probably available to throw tomorrow. Clevenger will be down. Uceta will be down. Fairbanks may be available with the off day Thursday, but it's kind of an embarrassment of riches when you could throw Joe Boyle out there who can go multiple innings, when you could throw Ian Seymour out there who can go multiple innings. So that's kind of the sneaky part of where the Rays are at right now with this bullpen is they have so much pitching talent in the minors, and it's like, okay, might as well come up and help the big league club. And having Joe Boyle only puts that depth kind of even more in perspective when you're like, man, the Rays use probably their 4 best bullpen arms, and it's no, we still have Joe Boyle that can go tomorrow for at least 2 innings if stuff breaks down with Taj. So again, really, really impressed with this bullpen, and I knew they'd bounce back. They're not going to be as bad as they were for that stretch as they were on the road, but they've bounced back and have been shut down for the most part, which has been super encouraging to see. But let's look ahead to the game tomorrow as the Rays go for a much, much needed series win. So Taj Bradley will be on the mound for the Rays. Obviously, had that huge, huge big time outing his first time out against the Orioles. He'll be going up against Jonathan Cannon, 4.7 with a 4.18 ERA. Again, a lot of these White Sox pitchers are very similar. So again, Cannon's another guy. The Red Sox have a lot of guys just good. He's given up 2 runs or less his last 4 outings. He has been really, really good recently. His last outing before the break, 7 innings, 5 hits, 1 earned against Pittsburgh. Or I guess that was the first start after the break. So, he has not lost a game since early June for the team. So, again, he has been really, really good recently. And away from home, he's been a little bit worse. He's almost a 4.5 ERA compared to 3 and 4 at home. But he's pitched way more games on the road. So, he's been really good in the month of July. In the month of July, he had a 2 point. He currently has a 2.6 ERA. He's 2-0 with 3 starts. So he's going on his 4th start of the month, and he's been just money so far this season. So another righty that the Rays are going to have to contend with. Another one that is incredibly, I'm not going to say incredibly talented, but another solid arm that the White Sox have. And they've been just throwing out these guys at, 4.6, 4.7, 4.8 with a low 4s ERA. And they've been giving the Rays some fits besides the walks. But Cannon's walks are a little bit less than the other two. He only has 29 walks in 84 innings. That's to 63 strikeouts. So again, that number is still fairly high, but nothing like we've been seeing the last 2 days. And then obviously with Taj, he's had 2 of his best outings of the whole season, the last 2 outings. So again, obviously last time out against Baltimore, 6 innings, 3 hits, no runs. Last time out against Boston, before that, 6 innings, 2 hits, 1 run. So he's just been money recently. And again, you're not asking Taj to go 6 shutout every single time, but you would like for Taj to go 6 innings, 3 runs or less. Quality start every single time. So again, with the Rays, it's all about scoring first with the Rays. They put up the stat, the Rays are like 35-15 when they score first. That's pretty drastic. And I think the Rays need to score first and just keep the pressure on like they have been doing. And they are due for a big game against this White Sox team. And hopefully, they can come out with a series win. As we go to the comments, let's start with Gary. He says, much more fundamentally sound game by the Rays this evening. Pitching got the job done. For some reason, the White Sox seem to play very well against the Rays, regardless of the records. I also think the White Sox might be playing their best baseball the whole entire season right now. So that's also something to keep in mind. As we go to Jack's takes, he said, really thought this game was going to slip away. My favorite part of the game is watching Uceta cook. Brake did him right, and that's something we talked about. Brake really, really did do him right. As we go to I Love Legos, he says, I hope we can keep this momentum between now and the trade deadline. That's what everyone in the Tampa Bay area is hoping for. Rays fans everywhere are 100% hoping for that. As we go to Alexander, he said Rays are 57-55 for the White Sox since 2008. They just struggled against them for whatever reason. The White Sox have only been bad the last 2 years. I mean, 2021, they were in the playoffs. The Rays in 2008 played the White Sox in the playoffs. The White Sox aren't some team, people might not remember. The White Sox have been pretty good, the last 17 years. It's not a lot of what they've been recently, but obviously still the Rays have been a better franchise since that point. So yeah, it still is a little bit surprising. As we go to Gary, should we be concerned about Josh Lowe? We talked a lot about Josh Lowe yesterday, man. He is in a big time slump right now. I mean, he was in a 3 for 38 going into yesterday. So now he's in a 3 for 41 with that walk today. It kind of cooked in there. Yeah, I'm more optimistic than worried. Like I really think he's due for a big week coming up here. Like I think he's gonna come out and hit like 400 over 7 games with a home run. Yeah, I think he's due for one of those. As we go to Marco Palganski, says concerned about all the runners in scoring position I would leave on base. Yeah, the last 2 games have been a little bit more noticeable, specifically yesterday. But that's why Cabby's at bat in the second inning was so big because with how much the Rays struggled yesterday, first chance the Rays get, he was able to drop in a very big heads good hand at home. She said, happy to see the Rays pull it out tonight, especially with a Boston loss. Hope Josh Lowe can break out soon. Offense seems a bit lackluster. Bullpen has been a lot better, which is extremely encouraging. Yeah, that's been a lot that we've been talking about is, what's this offense going to be like without Brandon Lau, with Josh Lowe struggling? I mean, they're going to need some guys to really step up going to a huge road trip after last game of the homestand tomorrow. And then obviously the bullpen. I think the bullpen's due for a really good kind of stretch run. As we go to Alexander, he said, do you know why they didn't call it me from with Beal on the IL instead of wanting to carry a 5th outfielder with Stuart Fairchild? Yeah, I really, I don't know. It is puzzling, and that might mean more moves are coming. That's what I would assume. I don't know if that move involves a Christopher Morel or something like that, but yeah, I think more moves are coming. As Margaret talks about, what can we expect from Fairchild? A guy that, kind of like a lot of Rays outfielders, plays defense at above average level, can steal a base, has shown some power. I was looking at some stats. I thought when I think Stuart Fairchild, I don't think power. He's had some a double-digit home run season, and it's not like he's playing every day. I don't think he's ever played, 100 games in a season. So some sneaky power. Yeah, I love what talks about, can provide some pop like Jankowski did. I think if he can do that, that's more than what the Rays would be expecting. So if you guys are in the live, make sure to drop some few more comments in before we get out of here. Again, Rays win, beat the White Sox 4-3. Much needed win. Boston loss. Rays a half game out of a playoff spot. Again, Rays tomorrow, big key, score first with Taj. You kind of never know you're going to get. He's been super solid recently. He likes to throw that fastball. White Sox have been hammering fastball recently. Maybe we see a little bit more splitter, but remember, Taj's last time out, he was heavy fastball cutter. So eager to see what his mix will be tomorrow. So I appreciate everyone for joining the live. I appreciate everyone that will watch the replay. Listen on Spotify, Apple Podcasts, wherever you get your podcast. Thank you all so very much. If you guys made it all the way to the end, leave a like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you guys tomorrow night.